Welcome back to the PDR Coach podcast. Today on the episode, we have a special guest, Jon Videen. Most of you know him from either Gray Duck Dent Repair or the new infamous Dent Reaper tools. But by the end of this episode, you may know him for another reason as well. Welcome to the show, Jon.
Thanks for having me, Corey. It's a pleasure to be on.
Fun times, man. Yeah, so we chatted the other day in preparation for this episode. But just how I start every episode, how did you find this weird little niche that we're all in, man?
Yeah. So actually a guy I went to high school with worked for a large dealer group here locally. He was a detailer, and then they trained him into PDR, and he got a couple of other buddies of mine that I met just after high school, and they all worked there for some time, and one of them went on his own and ended up training me and hiring me. In 2010, I was selling Yellow Pages advertising at the time.
That's right.
And got myself fired and rode the unemployment until I was able to push for money. But yeah, I was just pushing at a salvage yard lot. So
that's good. That's good training right there.
Yeah. Thrown to the wolves. But
so you got to tell us. You can't skip over that part. How'd you get yourself fired? You didn't quit. You got yourself fired.
Yes. No. So I just was getting a lot of complaints. Like, they were just transitioning into some online programs and stuff. Mm-hmm. And to be frank, it didn't work. Like, they had superpages.com and all this other stuff. And
YP.com, right?
Yeah. Well, they were not affiliated with YP.com at that point. They might have been bought out by them after they filed bankruptcy. But either way, I was handling more complaints than I was booking.
Selling,
Yeah, and once you lose belief in what you're selling, it's pretty tough to continue on. So I just stopped selling stuff, and they brought me in and gave me a warning, and I said, okay. And I just wouldn't push it, hey, do you want this advertising? No, I'm good. Okay, cool.
Next. Oh, that's funny, man. Okay. So you did that. You were riding the employment train. Your buddy left the group and said, hey, you want to learn how to push his metal around with metal sticks? And you're like, sure.
Yeah. Well, it hailed that year. It was 2010. It hailed that year, and he was going to hire me as a sales guy to estimate hail cars and get more hail cars for him. And he brought me on a couple ride-along days, and we were standing on a quick bench at the back of an SUV, and he was pushing the roof. And I was like, well, this looks easy, man. I'm sure I can do this. This
says every dent guy that's ever. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I might have banged my head against the wall a few times along the way, but 10 years later, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. After 10 years, it's easy. Yeah. After 10,000 hours of training, it's no problem at all. So you skipped over something, and I want you to talk about this in the context of, you're selling a few things now. You're selling your dent repair business. You have the tools now and things like that. You said once you lose your belief in selling things, it's all over. And that's true. I think beliefs, if anybody listens to my podcast, I have a model or process I use for life. And the first part of that is beliefs, is believing that you're capable, believing in the product, beliefs are huge. So talk about having belief in what you're selling and why that's important for growing any business.
Well, I just think people are going to be able to detect if you are not sincere, and if you don't believe in what you're selling. When I'm selling PDR, I know it is the best possible repair for that vehicle. And what if the paint's cracked? If there's a scenario like that, I'll explain all of their options to them and just be 100% upfront. But in 99% of the cases, when I'm fixing a vehicle, it is 100% the best way to do it and the most cost effective. And it's just a better repair. So,
and then to another level, obviously belief in yourself and the pricing. I mean, I work with clients one-on-one, and a lot of times that's an issue, right? We all talk about, raising prices, using a price guide, using Paul Corden, all that stuff, right? Mobile Tech RX, use all that. But it starts at the belief part. You have to believe that the value you're providing is worth that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, early in my career, if you would have told me I was going to get the dollars I'm getting now for some of the repairs I'm doing, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But as time has gone on, and the more I learn about what collision shop is going to charge for a similar repair and what it's going to do to the vehicle and all of that, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So
truth.
It's easy to sell for me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So you're standing on the back of this, on the quick bench, and they're like, "Hey, teach me how to push instead of sales." So obviously he did, or somebody did. So go back to that point and talk about how you learned.
He did eventually. Yeah. So that day he gave me a knockdown and said, "Yeah, see if you can push up that dent right here." And he circled one, and I don't know, probably just put 20 high spots.
So for the people that are just listening, he gave you a knockdown, and you said you're like holding it in your fist, and you're just pushing straight up, no leverage or fulcrum, just pushing straight up to see if you can.
Right.
That sounds like a terrible way to start, honestly.
Yeah, probably was. I'm pretty sure I ruined that dent. I'm sure he had to work on it twice as long as he would have if he would have just started it and finished it himself. Right. But yeah, so he did resist for a little while. He almost tried to talk me out of it, and eventually he agreed, and I was living in a crap hole of an apartment. And there was a big long garage for all the apartments had one stall in this huge garage, and I was in the corner, and we set up a hood stand and a fluorescent light, and I had one dent craft tool, green handle with the R4 tip.
Yep.
And one pink whale tail. And I actually was also given a set of DVDs called PDR Coach.
Yes, we did talk about that. That's right.
Yeah.
Tom Price
and Michael Hand. Yep.
I don't know if he listens to this. I don't know Tom one-on-one or anything, but he's not online. Those DVDs were never published online. So when I looked to name the podcast, it wasn't taken. It wasn't used. It was nothing. It didn't appear anywhere. And I didn't, I wasn't around for those days. But anyways, side note. But so you got two tools, some PDR Coach, DVD training videos, and ready, set, go.
Yep. Yeah. And so the first day I sat in that garage, I pushed for like 13 hours, woke up, my fingers were numb. My pinky finger and the inside of my ring finger was numb. I almost quit. I was like, I don't know, man, I can't even feel my hands after one day. Like, what is this going to do to me? Which it does take a toll physically after. But yeah, I went to the chiropractor. He said I pinched my ulnar nerve, snapped me back into place, and everything was fine. I could feel my fingers again immediately. And I went
after
back.
Day one of dent repair. You're going to the chiropractor. Nice. Okay, but you went forward anyways. That's the key right there. Like, there's a lot of people just at that point that quit. They're like, "Fuck this." You're probably on unemployment still, right? At this point, pushed in the corner. You're like, "I'm getting free money. Like, why should I work this hard? I'm hurting myself, right?" But what made you continue go? Like, why continue forward on that?
Well, I enjoyed the challenge. So before I was ever in sales, I worked as a carpenter. I worked as a machinist. I liked working with my hands, and I enjoyed the challenge of trying to figure out how to fix these dents. And I saw how well my friends were doing. They were doing, they had a daytime job. They were doing all right. So I figured, if they could do it, I could do it. So
Totally. So that was the start. And then you worked with your buddy for, who got you trained for a long time.
Yeah.
6-7 years or something, right?
7 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Gotcha. How was that time? What did you do? How did you learn? And then now, obviously, people know you from Great Oak Dent Repair. It's not your buddy's company. So talk about during that time and how you transitioned.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like most guys, I started, rock lots,
Yep.
smaller dealers, just all wholesale, and slowly graduated into retail and more wholesale. And, it was a lot of wholesale. So, speed and efficiency were key for me. And then, I really just started maxing out my earning potential and was just looking for a way to get better numbers. And I've been, thinking about this for a couple of years by the time I did eventually end up quitting. Mm-hmm. And really the catalyst for that was, must have been early October or late September of 2017. My dad had a stroke, and I was actually buying my truck at the time. My brother called me and said, we got to go to the hospital. Dad had a stroke. They're airlifting him to so-and-so. And, we sat up all night. They, had to do emergency surgery and all that. And a long night. And when we finally did get to see him, his speech was more like just noises and mumbles, and he was shaking, and it was rough. Like, we really weren't sure if he was going to come out of it, which, happy to say, he is much better now. He has very limited use of his left hand, but he can still walk, talk, drive, do all of it. He's fully independent, and so we're very lucky there.
For sure. So how did that spark the quitting?
Well, you just, you see that and you realize that nothing's promised. You don't know what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. Mm-hmm. And when you tend to take things for granted after so long, and just at that moment, it was really eye-opening. Like I said, I had been considering, how would I go about it? What would I do? And, I've been listening to PDR College, and I have all these ideas in my head, and, and at that time too, I had been developing what would eventually become the Dent Reaper. And, that moment also made me decide to put that out into the marketplace, mm-hmm. as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there thinking, I have all these ideas and thoughts, and what am I waiting for? Am I gonna be on that same bed someday? I will be. Pretty damn close to it, in one form or fashion. And I don't want to look back and regret not swinging. You strike out in baseball, you don't want to get caught looking. You mm-hmm. want to go down swinging. Yeah. So you can't hit a home run staring at the ball.
That's true, man. That's huge right there. Life is short, obviously. Challenging yourself, putting yourself outside your comfort zone, taking risks and things like that is so important, because when you do look back at the end of life, you don't want to be like, man, I felt like I could have done so much more. One of my favorite people that I follow is Ed Milet. And he puts it, a lot of people say this stuff, but the way he puts it just really resonates with me. And he says that he thinks that when he dies and goes to heaven, he's a believer in God. And so am I. But if you're not, just put this in your own context. But when you die and go to heaven, there's a version of yourself that he created that you were supposed to be, right? And when you go there, he wants to be able to God to look at him and say, you did it. You reached the fullest potential of what you're capable of doing in this world, right? He doesn't want to go there and be like, man, like you missed all these opportunities and you sold yourself short your entire life. Like, in that, like really, when I think about that stuff, is like gets me fired up.
Wow.
Like, me as a human, I have a certain potential I can reach. It may not be Ed Milet's. He's worth almost $1 billion, but I have a certain potential that I can reach. I don't know what that is unless I go do those things to try to strive for that. Right.
Yeah. That's a powerful little exercise there. I mean, I kind of feel like the fullest potential of myself would kick me in the shin and tell me to get back to work. What are you doing?
Yeah, for sure, man. I totally get that. But those are the things, like, and so you had that moment, obviously, you know, seeing your dad in that position, you know, made you make changes. Start your own business, the Dent Reaper. You showed the Dent Reaper to some people, right?
Yeah. So I sold it to, before I ever had it on the market, I showed it to my boss at the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he said, I finally got this tool done. He's like, oh, yeah, what have you been working on? Whatever. I don't got time for that. And, like, I'm literally holding it out, like, check this thing out. And he was like, nah.
Like, my brainchild, my ideas here in physical form. And he's like, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever.
Tell me if you agree with this. And I've been telling this to a lot of my clients, and I talk to a lot of people about this, but I think it's true, especially in this space, in any business, but in this space especially. When you have employees that are working for you, you need to not be just their boss, but you need to be their mentor and coach too. And I truly believe that. And that's one of those scenarios that potentially, if he had helped you develop it or helped you push it out, or even said, like, this thing's amazing, I want 10 of them to give to my friend, like, this situation that you leaving may not have been quite as fast or quite as messy.
Yeah, well, I would say we both could have done a lot of things differently. Mm-hmm. And there's certainly regrets on my side. Yeah. But, you know, and whatever. Maybe I presented it to him wrong. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but I
agree.
Yeah, it just, I mean, who knows how things could have gone differently, but
I do believe that if you're going to have employees in this business, that you need to be their boss or their coach, their mentor, everything. You need to be there for them. You need to help change their life, not just take their 40% from them and run with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've heard that philosophy from employers in many different realms, mm-hmm. and you're going to end up with happier, better employees if you are encouraging them to be the best version of themselves, you know, whatever that is. And if that means you get 2 years, 3 years less service out of them than you might have otherwise, I think that relationship will eventually pay off in one way or another. I mean, mm-hmm. you know, just to know that, oh, well, I trained this guy, now look what he's doing, mm-hmm. or whatever. If, you know, I got a kid right now that I'm working with, and mm-hmm. we'll see. I mean, maybe someday I'll be very proud of him. Mm-hmm. I hope you're listening, Zach. I want the best for you.
Yeah, like a son. So 3 years ago, you said October or something like September, October 2017. So that's about 3 years ago. You started a Gray Duck Dent Repair.
Yep.
What's up with the name? Where'd the name come from? Never asked you that.
Yeah. So when you were a kid, you probably played a game. Everybody sits in a circle. And you walk around and you say, duck, duck. Yeah. Then what?
Goose.
You say goose.
Yeah.
Everybody says goose. You know who doesn't say goose? Minnesota.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So in Minnesota, we played duck, duck, gray duck, and my wife's from Iowa. So when our daughter first started walking, I'd never even heard of duck, duck, goose at this point. And but our daughter started walking, and I said, well, before you know it, she'll be playing duck, duck, gray duck. And my wife was like, what? What's wrong with you? You mean duck, duck, goose? And I was like, no, I mean duck, duck, gray duck. And we had a spirited argument, and did some Googling and found out Minnesota is the only state that plays duck, duck, gray duck. So, and
Really?
if you Google it,
That's
it's
hilarious.
a whole thing. And I'm not the only one to use gray duck in there's a gray duck vodka that's made in Minnesota.
Interesting. Okay.
There's gray duck everything, which I think when I named my business, kind of like all sorts of this kind of stuff sort of came to a head, and there was more and more of it. There was a Vikings touchdown celebration where they played duck, duck, goose, or gray duck, depending on who you ask. And it was a big thing. It was all over the news, and like they went to the Swedish History Institute trying to figure out if it came. Nobody knows really where it came from and why it's different. So,
wow, that's a good story. I like that. Okay, that's cool. All right, I had no idea. I just thought it's an inside joke or something, because I have another business. I have another business that's like behind the scenes in real estate, and it's basically an inside joke of ours that no one would understand, but it's not front facing, so it's not huge. But anyways, that's cool. So 3 years ago, you started the company, and you actually told me on the phone. And I'd be curious. And every time I ask this to fact check thing, people end up messaging me. So it's kind of cool. But you said there was 10 PDR shops within your area, or
pretty close to that. Okay. I do believe.
Maybe 9.
We've got Kavanaugh, Q, XL, Dentworks, Finishing Touch, Twin City Dent Repair. 7 that I can think of off the top of my head.
This is just your city, like a 50,
the Twin
Cities,
the Twin Cities Metro. Yeah,
that's a lot. I mean, in Sacramento, we have, really one that's somewhat well known, but there's a couple others that people are using that maybe not full time, but they're out there. We have a shop as well, but it's not. We don't do a lot of work at it. We ended up going back to basically 100% mobile because that's what people want. So it's probably a little bit of the weather. I'm sure Sacramento's a little different, but I have the range of like over 2 million people, and there's like one shop. But in your area, there's 7, maybe 8, 9. I'm curious to see if other areas, if anybody wants to message me and tell me other areas in a 50, 100 mile radius or just a city has more shops than that. And you told me why that was. Maybe share that with everybody.
Well, so I think many reasons, like you stated, the weather is probably pretty key.
Yeah.
But a gentleman, Jurgen Holtzen, came over here about the same time as Lido, who started Dent Wizard, and Jurgen's Dentcraft. That's another shop I didn't name. So, but Jurgen, he doesn't work there anymore, by the way, but was one of the early pioneers from Germany bringing PDR here, and he trained a lot of guys here locally, Don Kavanaugh included, and it kind of spread his coaching tree, or however you want to,
training
is pretty densely situated here in the Twin Cities. So
one of the originals. That's pretty cool. So you started a company 3 years ago. You got all these shops. Big history in that area. How do you set yourself apart? I mean, how do you get busy when there's already so many other people? It's a question that a lot of new guys have these days.
Yeah, when I started, my website was so ugly. If you go to my YouTube channel and watch my first YouTube video, everybody would laugh at me like, "Are you serious? This is how you think you're gonna get business?"
What's funny is that everybody who has never done something will laugh at you, but everybody who has done something knows that's the only way to start. If you wait until you have like perfectly curated intros, outros, professional videography material to post on YouTube, you're never going to fucking post on YouTube. Yep. But you got to put those first ones on there and continually improve it. So yeah, the people that have seen success and no success, look back at those YouTube videos and you're like, all right, I get it. This is where he started. I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought about taking it down, and honestly, sometimes it still shows up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It'll show up on the first page of Google, and I'm like, oh, do I even want people to find this? But if it takes them a little further down the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
maybe they get a chuckle out of it, or I don't know. But
I'll put that in the show notes and make sure I link that for everybody to watch.
Yeah. But, standing apart, I guess, I had worked in the industry for 7 years. So I knew, different dealer, car managers, all that, body shop managers, things like that. And when I left my former employer, I went on a little farewell tour and said, they're going to take great care of you. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but if you know somebody who needs a dent guy, tell them to give me a call. And I just started beating the street. I mean, I had cold called before with selling Yellow Pages advertising. So for me to go into a dealer and offer them actual value was pretty easy in comparison.
Yeah, right. Because you actually believed in it, going back to the original, the belief in the product, right?
Exactly.
So talk about that. I mean, I work with people directly one-on-one, and I know a lot of people ask me too, like, how do you do that? How do you go into dealerships? How many times does it take? What do you say? What are tips out there for guys who are trying to, get into wholesale?
I try to be funny, because that's if I'm gonna be working with somebody on a regular basis, I want to be able to have fun. So I would go in. My first business cards were circles. They were, and I would give them to the used car manager, and I'd be like, I made it a circle so it's easier for you to throw in the trash can when I leave. And they'd be like, what? They would laugh.
Yeah.
Because most of them are going to do that anyway. And, I just mess with them and just be like, and be upfront and realize where they're at. Obviously, they probably have a guy. I'm sure you got a guy. But if there's something he doesn't want to do or something he can't do, give me a call. I'd like to help you out. Yep. So that's kind of.
And so you visit these people once and then hope they call you back?
No. I mean, when I was trying to build because what I basically wanted was 3 or 4 decent dealer accounts. And so when I was trying to build them, I was trying to focus them in certain areas. And I mean, I would go in 3, 4, 5 times or more. I mean, I still have one. I have a dealer that I have to drive by to leave my neighborhood. Have to. Well, I could go the other way, but 99 times out of 100, I'm going that way, and I have to drive by it. And I've fixed 4 cars for them now. And, I did stop going in because they have this guy that is very popular wherever he goes. He's a dent wizard guy. And I've been into many, many, many of his stores multiple times. Not in a while, and just said, everybody loves this guy. So you ain't taking Jimmy's account. You're not. People love him. So
that's good. I mean, worthy rivals, I would call them, not competition, worthy rivals, because yeah. And when I see that, and that's fine. If you're trying to grow out there and grow your business, and you keep coming across, like, because that happens probably with you now, and it happens with me. Like, I've talked to people who are like, every time I go into this account, like Corey from Dent Pro, and like, there's no chance I'm gonna get it. Right? That's what you want to hear. But like, don't go to those accounts. Like, when I hire a new person and I want some more wholesale, like, I know which accounts aren't using, bullseye.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Teeth, and stuff like that. I'm like, why spend the amount of time necessary to try to take one of those accounts when there's all the other accounts that have a hack or a guy who just started or a guy who's never got better than he was in the 90s or whatever. Like, those,
right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so that's just it. You learn those things along the way. And I stopped going to this particular dealership because
it's a time. I mean,
I knew that. Yeah, and actually, the the reason I have fixed any cars for them is I went in there to get parts for a hail car I was working on. And the same manager, surprisingly, because I hadn't been in there in over a year, and he recognized me. He's like, "Hey, our guy's busy with hail. Can you knock out this door ding?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can. I got my tools, my truck right here."
Yep.
So,
some stuff's the short game, some stuff's the long game. That's the long game for you. I mean, if he ever decides to stop or
I'm not
chase
moving
hail
anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe when that kid of yours that's working for you is ready in 5 years, you might get it.
Yeah. We'll see. We will see.
All right. So like we said in the beginning, the Dent Reaper, where did that idea come from? How did you make it happen? There's a lot of people out there that have tool ideas. How do you do it?
Yeah. So, I guess the idea came from basically a hybrid of a bunch of different door tools that I had already had. And like I said, when I was working primarily wholesale for my former employer, speed was the name of the game. Like, I had to go quick. So I wanted to just grab a few tools, my light, and go. Or might have been still my ding board at that point.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, so I just really wanted these 3 tools to come into one and just be one, so I could just grab that one tool. And I tried going to different machine shops. I went to school for CNC machining, so I kind of understood that a little bit. And man, I mean, for a machine shop to have everything you need to make a PDR tool, you wouldn't think would be that strange, but they just don't. Like,
really? Huh.
It's hardly any that I've found. So then I was just kind of going door to door. That didn't work out. And then I've had a CAD made, and I was pushing it through online estimators, and I was getting crazy prices, and guys telling me, well, we're going to have to have it ground here and bent here and heat treated there. And it's like, what? Why? And then episode 62 of PDR Tool Time, John and Maria were on, and they talked about making custom tools, and how they weren't going to take a technician's idea. They wouldn't put it on the market if they don't want them to, and so on and so forth. And at that point, I was like, that was almost like a sign to me. I stopped, rewound it, listened to it again. I was like, this is too good to be true. I didn't know they did that.
Yeah.
And so, the next day I called and asked about it, and they're like, yeah, we build custom tools all the time. Do you know what you want?
And you're like,
yeah, I'll send you a CAD. And they were like, Tom at A1, he's like, you have a CAD?
That's awesome.
Most guys just draw a picture on a napkin. I was like, well.
Make this for me. That's awesome.
Yeah, it took a few iterations to get the tip and lack of flex just right, but
But that's it though, man. I mean, growing, pushing, creating, and all that stuff, like that opportunity, if you listen to that podcast, it never would have been anything if you hadn't gone that far down the road of making the tool, right? And again, like, don't wait. Like, start doing stuff, start the YouTube channel, start making the tools, start doing something, because you don't know, you may not be able to see the end of the path, but it's amazing when you start doing that, what opportunities present themselves, right? Start telling people about it. If you told everybody you knew, you call me and say, hey, I want to go on your podcast and tell everybody about this thing. All of a sudden, all these connections start coming in, right, to your life. And that's a huge thing I've learned probably over the last 2 years. And that's where I started the podcast, that's where I start doing all these things.
Yeah. Well, just like my first YouTube video, if you saw the first, I'll show you when we're done here.
Yeah.
If you saw the first version of the Reaper, you would be like,
that doesn't look like it.
What are you doing? This is never going to be a usable tool. Like, you're just wasting your time. I'm sure. I mean, I had that thought when I got it from the first guy who made me one. I was like, this is not what we're going for, bud. But you just keep pushing forward and looking and searching for ideas. Man, Jim Rohn, there we go.
There you go. Yep.
Solutions are reserved for those who search. If you're not searching for an answer or any way to improve your life in any realm, you're not going to find it.
Yeah. If you're just waiting for something to happen for you, it will never happen. Like, you have to go do those things. Go get the CAD, go do this, listen to the episode, talk to the person, because all of a sudden those things start coming together. It's really the only way to do it.
It's like we're all playing a game of 500. If you're not trying to catch the ball, it's not just going to land in your hand. Like, you got to go for it.
Okay. I have to ask this just because of the name of your business. What's the game of 500? I might call it something different.
Oh, so wait, you got a football or a baseball. One kid stands, whatever, 50 yards away. Yeah. You throw it up as high as you can.
And
you
they
say
all try to
100, catch it. 200 or 500. And the goal is to get to 500. And if you catch the ball when they yell 500, you win.
Right. I've never heard of that.
Oh, okay. Well,
we play 3 flies up. Like 5 kids stand over there and and me throw it, and they all have to catch it. Is that the same thing or something different?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah, that's funny. You guys got different names of games over there in Minnesota. I don't know what's going on.
We're walled off. We were walled off from the rest of the country. Like,
yeah,
it's too cold for us to
just making up duck gray duck games to pass the time, I guess. So in light of starting new things, putting things out in the world that you're unsure of, doubtful, whatever, the reason I sparked this is because you are starting a new podcast.
You bet.
I said, come on, Jon, let's talk about a podcast on a podcast. Like, what better way?
Why not? Meta.
Meta.
So it's Dents and Dreams. So, I mean, like I said, with me starting my own company, with me starting Dent Reaper, and so many other things, I have benefited so much from all the podcasts that are out there. The PDR College, PDR Tool Time, yours, like just on down the line. Ever since PDR College, and especially when it turned into multiple companies for me, it's like, okay, I'm listening to every PDR podcast I can from here on out. And, it's just like my way of, hopefully I can pay it forward. Hopefully there's an interview I have with somebody down the line that will help some other guy who knows where. And, if one bit of knowledge can help push another person forward, it's just a good way to pay it forward, and a good way for me to continue learning as well. Like, now I'm not just listening, now I'm engaged with the guest, and I think that will be even better.
Yeah,
so.
No, 100%. I mean, I get tons of value from the guests that I have on my podcast too. So I know it's there. And again, the same thing for you is like, if you can help the industry, move the industry forward, help, change somebody's life in that process. Like that's why we're here doing it. I could talk about this stuff all day, the tools, the stories, the building the dent business. And if someone can listen to it and take that and be somewhere different than they would have been next year, like, come on, man, you can't, that's what it's about. Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Nothing would feel much better.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Now I forgot what I was going to say.
So Dents and Dreams, what's that about?
Oh,
Dents and
so
dreams.
Dents and Dreams, baby.
baby.
Dents and Dreams. So yeah, I think it was an episode of PDR College.
Yes, which we still have to find.
Yeah, I don't know. If somebody
Yeah.
knows which episode it is, please tell me.
Yeah.
But they were talking, and it might be from another book I listened to, or who knows where. But I'm pretty sure it was PDR College. But they were talking about how when somebody says, "How you doing?" Don't just say fine or good. How about you? Or whatever. There's a lot of standard responses. You know, you walk by the sales manager, you walk by the service guy, the detail guy, everybody, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Good. Great. Super.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so they talk about just saying something or finding a way to stand out and be a little bit different so that people will remember you. And, you know, you have this opportunity where you're engaging with this person, and most people are just nothing's going to happen. But if you say something a little bit different, they'll remember you. So that's what you're hoping for. And so, yeah, I don't know how I came up with Dents and Dreams. When I heard that, now people say, how you doing? I'm just saying, you know me, it's Dents and Dreams. We got cars to fix, sunny day, or whatever. I'll be like, we got cars to fix. It's freezing outside.
That's probably more often than not, right? I'm guessing.
Well, we're in that season now. Yeah.
For sure. So Dents and Dreams, man. I love it. That's super cool. So what's up? You're going to do some tool talk. You're going to do some interviews. You're going to do some, what you got? Let's hear it.
Yeah. I mean, the idea is it's just going to be geared towards, you know, how we can better or best utilize the skills we have in PDR to achieve our wildest dreams. That's what I'm thinking about when I'm doing it. And that's the reason I kind of wanted to start it. Hopefully somebody will get a nugget somewhere and they can apply it to their business or their life or whatever, and get them closer to where they want to be.
Absolutely. I'm excited for it, man. I know you said it just got accepted, so it's up, right? It's out. It's ready to be.
Yeah, if you search for it on iTunes, you should be able to find it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Apple, Spotify, YouTube, it'll be all over.
There you go. Awesome, man. That's exciting stuff. So I like to end every episode just getting the opinion on where you think the industry is going. You think we're just beginning? You think 10 years from now there's going to be too many guys? The retail is going to be bigger, smaller? What's your? I know you've thought about it.
Oh, absolutely, I've thought about it.
Yeah.
So I don't see any reason it wouldn't grow. I think it is going to continue to grow until we reach a possible tipping point in how humans actually travel. So until automated cars get to a point where it makes more sense just to Uber everywhere because there's just robot cars everywhere, then PDR is going to grow until that point. And then once people stop owning their cars, then PDR guys are going to be more like a farrier right now. You know what a farrier is?
No, please explain.
So a farrier is somebody who changes shoes on horses.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, and I don't know when automated
highly
cars
skilled and highly difficult to find.
Exactly. So they're rare and but necessary because my parents own horses. They're not changing their own shoes. They have to call the farrier.
Yeah.
So
that's a long ways away, obviously, you know, for automation to be even approved and then rolled out in a mass scale, and then the cars to a price to where people could afford to buy those cars. Cause right now,
I think we're
talking big numbers.
You know, somewhere between 25 and 50 years away. Is
Yeah,
is it even fair for me to give a 25-year window?
I don't know. We're like 10 to 100 years away, I would estimate.
It's somewhere in there.
I mean, I would say yes. I mean, the windows I give for my pricing on dent repair with pictures are very large windows. So I'm okay with large windows. It'll be anywhere from 300 to 550 depending on all the factors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously big outlook, lots of people entering the industry. And I wonder even then, man, if, I don't know, if shopping carts would still exist, if the doors are going to be automatically opened, or that, people are still going to drop shit on their cars. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as much as now, but
will those fleets want
their stuff fixed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? That'll be us to determine that for them.
Will Americans let go of the idea of owning their own car? That's hard for me to put. Like, you could tell me there's a full fleet of robot cars everywhere. All you got to do is push a button.
You're like,
but you can use that. But if you use that, you have to get rid of all your cars.
Yeah.
I would say you take your robot fleet. And drive the other direction.
Right. But your grandkids might think something different.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like, it's like, I mean, cars are second to guns in this country, honestly. If we taking people's cars away is close to trying to take guns, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe not for the kids.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. Like, some of my friends, their kids.
Yeah.
They don't even want to get their license.
They don't want the license. I know. That blows my mind. That's crazy. Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Yeah. So maybe, who knows? But that's interesting. I like that. I don't think I've had that perspective on the podcast. But you actually mentioned reading books, and I've read a couple of books about the future of, like the Silicon Valley people who are involved in those type of things. Like, those things exist right now, but when will they be prevalent, right? Who knows?
At scale, or
Yeah. Are you reading books? Is books a big part of your life? Like, do you listen to stuff during the day, or what?
Yeah, I don't read so
you
well.
Listen.
I listen. Yeah.
Same.
Our job is perfect for just
Mm-hmm.
pumping information into your ear holes all day long, because what else are you going to do? I mean,
after you're that many years into fixing dents, and it's mostly second nature, unless you're going to take on those smashes that are very complicated.
Yeah.
You can listen to stuff all day. Yeah. I totally agree.
Especially, on a wholesale lot, line up 10 cars and just
put a book on.
Yeah. And or a hail car.
Yeah.
So
I'm guessing, if I can guess, and maybe it's a bad assumption, but the book consumption is a lot more prevalent these days than it was back in the unemployed days.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Dude, when wireless headphones first became, a thing,
mm-hmm.
I don't know when that was, 13, 14, something like that.
Game changer.
That changed my life.
Yeah.
In a big way. Because I did then. I signed up for Audible, and I found podcasts, and I was like, what have I been doing
mm-hmm.
all this time? Like, I just been listening to my own thoughts bounce from one side of my stupid skull to the other one.
And that's never good.
There's
almost never ends positive.
I've said that to many people. They're like, why are you always wearing those headphones? I was like, I do not want to hear my own thoughts. It's scary in there.
Trying to get outside myself. That's good stuff. That's truth, though. I mean, like, we're, human nature is, we're geared towards, a lot of times towards negativity, and a lot of times towards seeing the scary stuff. Like, that's what our brain's for, is to keep us safe, you know? And I promise you, if you listen to your brain, if you say, I'm going to go in that dealership to sell to that guy I've never met before, and you listen to your brain, they're going to be like, don't fucking do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to overcome that stuff. And I think books, podcasts, learning from the best. I think books you could take somebody's entire life's work of 20 years of experience and read it in 8 hours for like $12.99. And while you're earning money.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's not fair to the rest of the world that we are allowed to earn money and learn.
I 100% agree.
At the same time.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It's a beautiful thing. And like I probably shouldn't admit that I have them still. If my wife's listening, she's throwing them away right now. But I have books on CD somewhere. Like that's always how I've listened. And now
I actually have a few of those. I'm 34, but when I had a sales job and I drove a lot, and I got a Jim Rohn CD series, a Tony Robbins one, a couple of those, and listened to those things before I could just like plug my phone into my car and, get the audio that way. Oh, so crazy times.
You like Jim Rohn?
I love Jim Rohn. Tony Robbins, we can go down the list of people.
So here's super high level nerdery on Jim Rohn.
A little self-help.
Now,
I like how you just busted out the quote though. That was.
Well, here's how I bust out the quote. So there's this guy on a
Jim Rohn smoothie mix. Oh, smooth mix.
Smooth mix. Smooth mix. Guy named Roy Smooth. Smooth with an E.
Roy. Is that a podcast?
No.
Oh.
So he takes speakers like Jim Rohn and he puts a beat behind it.
Shut up.
Yeah. So you listen to that while you're working. It's like condensing their speeches down into like a 4-minute song, and it's kind of cool. Like
that's awesome. What's the name again? I want to type it down so I can put it in the show notes.
It's Roy Smooth.
What was it? Roy Smooth.
Yeah.
Roy Smooth.
Let's search him on Apple Music. You'll find it.
That's awesome. Cause the music is a great way for us to remember things. Like there's a lot of things, like it implants in a different part of your brain when you're hearing it with a melody or beat. So you do that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like
so
that.
there's
Never
one
about that.
There's one of his songs where he continually says, "Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better." And that, when I was first starting pushing,
yeah. Because it ain't getting easier. You can't wish it to be easier. That doesn't change, right? Control the controllables, right? Because you can change it. That's it. That's good stuff. I'm going to check that out. Thanks for that, man. It's really cool. I hope that helps a lot of people. But he might get another few hundred downloads here in the next couple of days from all the people listening.
Yeah, well, it's perfect for a dang guy. I was listening to it today while I was working. So.
It is. That's cool. Awesome, man. Well, check out the Dent Reaper if you haven't. Dents and Dreams podcast is the newest podcast in the series of podcasts out there. There's going to be different guests that I have on there. I'm sure I'll listen to it. So go check that out. I still got to listen to the first one. I think it came out today, but when I get back to pushing dents tomorrow, I'll probably put that in the ears.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, dude. I appreciate it. I had fun, and hopefully we provided some value to some people.
Yeah, hopefully so. Thanks much. I had a great time, and thanks for having me on, Corey.